Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Careful for Spoilers. I am your host James Barnes, and today guys I am joined once again by Lowland Brad as we talk about the film that jump-started the MCU and the hero that launched 1,000 films, Jon Favreau's Iron Man. I'm so glad to have you guys back on the podcast. How you guys been?
I'm excited. I'm ready to do this. I would talk about the Marvel Universe for days, and have, unfortunately, to people who didn't want it.
Same. I am constantly talking about this world of films and what I want to see next, and making up theories and hoping that they're right, and having my dreams dashed. But sometimes it works out.
Sometimes you get that little nugget of goodness, like Captain America with a beard. You know
Oh,
what I
yeah.
mean? Like, I asked for that one. I did ask for it.
You and my girlfriend. But I remember the first time I saw this film, I was honestly blown away. Like, it was so much fun to watch. Robert Downey Jr. was born to be Iron Man. Like,
Absolutely.
100%.
I think Tom Cruise could have pulled it off.
I
but
was shocked when I learned that Tom Cruise had been the front runner for it and was like supposed to produce it and be like heavily involved in it. I don't think Tom Cruise could have pulled it off.
Clive Owen was another one that was in the running for it as well. I think that would have been really interesting to see how that would have happened.
That would have been a
Sam
journey.
Rockwell, funnily enough, ended up being in the second
Weird.
movie, but he was one of them that Favreau had talked to about it. But
I think Rockwell could have pulled it off. It would have been a totally different thing.
I worship Sam Rockwell.
Yeah,
I love him.
I love him. At least his girl got in the movies.
Yeah. I mean, he shows up in the second one, so
yeah. I don't get the Clive Owen choice though.
yeah.
Like, he's very calm. He's very, like, I don't know. I don't think he could have pulled off the whole billionaire playboy thing.
I don't know. Have you ever seen Shoot 'Em Up?
Yeah.
I love Shoot 'Em Up.
I think he could have done like something like that for it. It would have been an interesting choice.
Yeah.
Once you see Robert Downey Jr. do it, it's almost impossible to think of anyone else ever doing it. It's like Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. You're like, well done here. This is great. Don't ever remake this.
Yeah, I think it would be a good opportunity with X-Men to just go the X-23 route.
Absolutely.
Just switch it up. I don't think it would make sense to try to recast, but
Absolutely not.
he's too iconic. I think they will. Same thing with Iron Man. Like, I want them to do... This is going to be spoilers for Captain Marvel, but the whole... I think the little girl...
I'm in the same boat.
That
Oh my
she
God,
can
yes.
be Ironheart.
Yes.
She's the perfect age right now.
Yeah, but you're talking about Monica Rambeau, the little girl in Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Yeah, she has her own path in the MCU. I don't think she needs to be Ironheart.
Yeah, but they switched things up, but that's just what I
Yeah.
thought. I thought it would be really cool if they found
I'm
a way
down
do
to
that.
see them never replace Robert Downey Jr. and go the Ironheart way.
Yeah.
Like, that would be phenomenal.
It's time for it, I think. I think
absolutely.
There's no better time than right now for them to do that, especially after Endgame. I'm still convinced that there's going to be some sort of self-sacrifice. He's in Jesus Christ posed on the Infinity War poster. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point. I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be really timey-wimey and interesting with Endgame, and we're so close to it.
I know.
So
I'm
close.
really excited.
But thinking about all of these MCU movies and the evolution of Iron Man, getting back to the first one, he looks so young.
He looks so young.
You know, and he's such
hair
a
is
different
so
Tony
good.
Stark.
You know what I mean? The hair.
Yeah.
That's a young man's haircut.
He's such a different Tony Stark. Like, he's always been supremely arrogant, but in this movie it's full arrogant Tony Stark in this film.
Oh yeah, it's him completely unchained, and I love that they lean into the alcoholism that which this is really the only one that they touch on. I mean, it's touched on in Iron Man 3 a bit, but this movie I felt like they actually got into the alcoholic Tony Stark. Like, he's got that case that opens up, that the martini glasses and everything comes out whenever he shows the Jericho missile and everything, like, and that's such a part of him in the comics that I almost forgot about it in the MCU.
Yeah.
But it was completely reminded of it whenever rewatched this one.
It was nice too because you accept that Tony Stark is an absolute genius in all of the films, but it was nice to be reminded in this one where they kind of go through like, oh, he graduated like top of his class from MIT at like 20 years old, and he did this and he did that, and you're like, oh, right, he is actually one of the smartest people in the Marvel universe for a long time, probably the smartest, until they were like, let's branch out.
Yeah. But let's just jump into the film.
Yeah, let's do it.
So the first scene that you see, they're out driving out to where they're gonna preview the Jericho missiles, and we get it's AC/DC, right?
Yeah,
we get
Back
the
in Black.
AC/DC song inside of the Humvee, and Tony Stark is just there holding this cup of scotch. And that's pretty much our first look
in his
at
great suit.
Yeah, in his awesome suit.
His awesome suit.
Yeah, he's talking to these guys. They're not talking to him, and he's trying to loosen them up a little bit. Like he's so charismatic, and instantly in that moment, you get like, this is Tony Stark that I read in the comics. This is the Tony Stark that I saw when I was growing up in these animated TV shows.
Absolutely.
Just talking a mile a minute, and is just hanging on every word that he says. It's so funny and it's so quick. And the oh my God, you're a woman. That part, it's so
and then he
great.
starts kind of awkwardly hitting on her, like,
Yeah.
oh, now I see the bone structure. I love it. I love that they just jumped right in, and they just were like, there was this conversation, that happened where they said, Robert, give us full Tony, because this is the first time we're meeting him, and he does, and it's amazing. You're instantly just hooked, and you don't really that's the feeling of the whole movie. You're just like leaning in, watching it, really engaged.
Oh yeah, he is so central to all of these movies that we get coming up, and the introduction is so important for these characters. And I think it might be my favorite character introduction in the MCU is this very, very first one. Rewatching it, and Iron Man's not my favorite Marvel movie, but I think that it's my favorite character introduction out of any of them. Doctor Strange is up there, but I'm biased because he's my favorite Marvel character ever.
Oh, really?
But, yeah.
Cool.
I love Doctor Strange so much.
It's a good one. It's interesting to think about what your favorite, and maybe we'll talk about this at the end. I don't know. James always has big plans, but your favorite kind of movie of the MCU is, because there's so many ways to look at it, and you can look at what's my favorite solo hero movie and what's my favorite group hero movie, and I definitely think Iron Man would be very high on almost everyone's list of solo favorite superhero movies.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I love the editing of this film too, because you get the explosion at the Humvee, and it straight cuts into the introduction of Tony Stark talking about his accomplishments and the fact that he became the CEO of Stark Industries at 21, which is insane. Like, you can tell the way he grew up. I mean, you're a genius, you're rich. Like, how else are you supposed to act? You know what I mean? Like, that's just the way he is, the way he grew up.
Right.
I mean, he could be nicer to people, but I mean, that's just who he is. That's his personality. I get the impression
Howard Stark was much nicer to people than him, which goes into the whole ideology of why Howard and Tony didn't get along, and I love that. I love that he's so abrasive.
Well, it goes into why Robert Downey Jr. is so perfect for the role too, because he himself, being from Hollywood royalty and having all of his problems and everything, it parallels Tony in such a great way. So I think that aspect of it, like you said, he was born to play the role.
Yeah.
I love that Favreau looked at Robert Downey Jr.'s pretty sad history and saw it as a positive thing for him to bring to the role of Iron Man, and that he gave him that shot. Because even when Robert Downey Jr. was obviously in his personal life, getting drunk and breaking into neighbors' houses and falling asleep in their kids' beds, he was still an amazing actor. I mean, have y'all seen Kiss Kiss Bang Bang? He's so good.
It's one of my favorite
movies. Even U.S. Marshals, the sequel, not sequel.
Yeah,
to
he is good in that. Yeah.
He's amazing in it.
Yeah.
And
he's great in Chaplin.
Yeah.
He's so good. I love that Favreau was like, I want you to bring that to this role. It says to me that Favreau had a solid idea of what he wanted from this movie, and it really shows, because the movie is solid from start to finish.
For sure.
What's interesting is they went into production without a finished script too. There's so much improv in this movie. Some
of the biggest scenes are improvs from Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, he's so good, and he brings so much to this character, and you can tell that it means a lot to him. You know what I mean? And what do you guys think about Terrence Howard as Rhodey? Because I thought he's really good in this movie.
I thought he was phenomenal.
He's so good. I don't know why they replaced him. I don't know the story behind it.
Yeah, so I know this story actually. So the whole controversy is, For Iron Man 2, he thought he deserved the same amount of money as Robert Downey Jr.
Wow.
Or, I mean, not the same amount of money, more money.
More money than Robert Downey Jr.?
Yes. That's what he wanted. He wanted more money than what RDJ was making. And because Marvel wouldn't give it to him, they just recast him. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm completely okay with it because I as much as I loved him as Rhodey, I loved Don Cheadle that much more in the role.
Like I said in the intro, like, this film jump-started the MCU. This is the film that started everything. The MCU is now a multi-billion-dollar franchise, and it's making every other franchise want to become, more of a connected universe, a connected franchise. Yeah, they'll get there eventually. They just need time.
What's interesting is I've read an interview with Terrence Howard where he does admit that it was a salary dispute, but he claims that he was contractually promised a certain amount of money that they then refused to give to him.
Okay.
So you're kind of like, I don't know how I feel about that. But how I do feel, and I even wrote in my notes, like, I wrote, oh man, remember when Terrence Howard was Rhodey? Like, I feel a little gypped that we didn't get to see Terrence Howard as War Machine. Like,
yeah, because I mean, their chemistry is great.
Their chemistry is great.
They even hint at it too. Whenever he sees the silver suit,
and he's like, next time,
baby.
I don't think Don Cheadle and Tony Stark got there in chemistry until a couple of movies in. Now, Don Cheadle's an amazing actor, though. Like, who doesn't want to watch Don Cheadle in everything? Whether he's making you laugh in Ocean's 8 or he's making you, cry your eyes out in Hotel Rwanda. Like, he's amazing. But, and I'm down with it, He got to be War Machine, and that's awesome, and he does a great job. And by Infinity War, he owns that role.
Oh, yeah.
But
definitely.
he stumbled a bit, I think, in the first couple of movies. He would be, Iron Man 2 would have been the first time we see him.
He does get a great introduction, though, walking into the courthouse, and he's like, yeah, it's me, deal with it.
Yes, I love it.
Which is so funny, because it's also a message to the audience at the same time.
I do get the impression that Terrence Howard might have been a little bit of a dick, and so then I'm fine with whatever happened with him leaving. But it sucks, because he did a good job. I give it up to him.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and they're such good friends, They feel like friends because it's like
friends.
I love you, but you fuck up so much, and I have to cover your shit.
For 3 hours.
When he's supposed to be, because it goes original opening scene, the Humvee is attacked, and then it cuts right to them trying to give him that award.
Yeah,
and Jeff Bridges, who's like rocking the best look I've ever seen since the dude.
He's so good at this movie.
Obadiah Strain. If you don't know that Obadiah Strain is the villain from the name, you've never watched Law and Order.
Yeah.
But when he has to give it to Obadiah Strain and then go find Tony, that first scene between Tony and not Terrence, Rhodey, is so good. Like, you get the feeling that they've been friends since forever, and you kind of wonder how would they even have made friends, but it's really good. Their chemistry is phenomenal.
Yeah. It's so good. They told me if I presented you with an award that you would be grateful, and I am grateful.
I like when he grabs the award and he's like, I don't have like 6 of these. This is great. Thank you so much.
He's like, I don't blow on another man's dice. The chemistry just works so well. And the next scene is where we get the Vanity Fair. The Vanity Fair, yeah. Like, I love that entire exchange, you know what I mean? Like, she's doing her job, and he's telling her straight up, like, all of this money helps the world in a different way, even though he doesn't know what's actually happening.
Right.
You know what I mean? He is right. If it wasn't for Howard Stark, we wouldn't have won the war against the Nazis. Let's be honest. Captain America was a huge part of that, but without Howard Stark, he doesn't get the shield. The military doesn't have weapons. So, I mean, yes, there is such a thing called war profiteering, but without it, we wouldn't have the things that we have today that we've become so comfortable with.
Yeah. You can tell, too, by his answers that even though he is a genius, his ego has kept him kind of out of the loop on a lot of things, because he probably doesn't ever think about how many people are dying as a result of it. And that scene sets up kind of his naivete about that, and then that journey from that. And it's a very great scene because it sets you up from the get-go to be like ready for him to take that emotional journey to the other side. Plus, it's Sam Rockwell's girl. I love Leslie Bibb. I love her in everything.
She's so great.
She comes back a couple of times from the first movie, which I love that shout out, but
yeah, when she comes back, I mean, all of her dialogue is very, very meaningful. But the second encounter that they have, I really like a lot, but we'll get there. But of course, he talks his way
right
into bed with her, and I love this house in Malibu. It's such a nice house on this island, and it's such a Tony Stark thing to have. You know, he's secluded on top of a mountain where he thinks he belongs, and we get our first glimpse into Jarvis, and Paul Bettany's voice was just perfect for this. You know what I mean? Like, what did you guys think of the house and how they portrayed Jarvis and
what did I think of the
Tony
house?
Stark experience?
I thought I'm poor when I saw that house. I thought, damn, I am so poor. I'm looking for houses right now, and I'm like, I guess I can do 900 square feet if that's what I can pay for. That house is out of control.
Yeah.
Is it Iron Man 3 that they destroy the house?
Yeah.
Okay, that's heartbreaking because to me the house becomes almost a character because it's so technologically advanced and it's so set up, and there's the room downstairs where he does everything and all of his cars. Like, what did I think? I felt poor, James.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking.
I think it's gorgeous. It's so Tony and yeah, just like you said, it almost becomes like another character in the movies. And Jarvis is perfect. Paul Bettany only spent 2 hours in a recording booth and
he got paid like
role.
as if he had shot a whole movie.
Yeah.
And he didn't even know. I read an interview with Paul Bettany was like, I've never read Iron Man. I like understood what my role was, but I didn't really understand it until I saw the movie. And then, you know, you jump ahead how many movies? I mean, Ultron, Avengers Age of Ultron is phase 3 of the MCU before you actually see him. Or would that be phase 2?
Yeah, that's 2. That's still
phase
2,
2, yeah.
You know, and I'm so glad that they picked him to be Jarvis's voice so that they could use him for Vision later.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool.
Such a good idea because I love Jarvis's voice. I love that he's not your typical AI where he has a personality and he's kind of like, he's kind of snarky with
I mean, you have to be, right?
I love it. When I love the idea that Iron Man, that Tony built him to kind of be a dick back to him because Tony wouldn't know any other way to build something.
Yeah.
Also, we're not there yet, but fire extinguisher robot in the film.
So good.
So good.
Yeah.
Absolutely the best sidekick ever.
And the way that Jarvis is a dick to Tony, I love that Pepper can hold her own. You know what I mean?
Oh, man. Pepper from the first scene.
Yeah. Not anyone can do her job. And I absolutely love it. Because, I mean, the reporter tries to call her out and just say, yeah, you're just here to pick up the laundry and everything. It's like, I do everything Mrs. Stark asks, including taking out the trash.
I loved it.
I just love it. Like,
I wrote Pepper coming in with the spice early. That's another, you know, the chemistry in the movie across the board is just perfect.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I don't want to buy anything from the Goop website, but I love Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yeah.
And I love her with Robert Downey Jr. Their scenes, there's so much chemistry. You really do feel that she's someone who knows herself very well and understands that she has feelings for him and is not going to pursue them because of who he is as a person.
Yeah.
And she is such a big heart of the MCU, you know, and that's brilliant because, I mean, she's a pretty big deal in the comic books, but they managed to capture that in the film. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I love their chemistry so much. Like you mentioned, the chemistry between all of them, including the chemistry between Tony and Happy. You know what I mean? Like, they seem like friends. It's like, yes, Happy works for him, but you can tell that they're actually friends. You know what I mean? And that scene where they're racing to the airport, that's when I knew I fell in love with the Audi R8.
Yeah.
Oh my God, is that an amazing car?
Okay, so funny story though. The very end of the movie, then Audi comes into play with the family inside of it. Yeah. And my fiance goes, Audi paid for this whole movie.
Pretty much.
And I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, everyone's driving an Audi. I'm like, what? I'm not even... He was like, you don't see that, like, it was an Audi R8 that he was driving, and it's an Audi over here, and it's an Audi over there. And I was like, Audi everywhere. I don't know cars.
Yeah.
Audi, Ford, Dodge, and Burger King.
Yeah,
Burger King.
See, that's product placement that I don't mind. It's very subtle. He hasn't had a meal in forever. What's the first thing I want? A really good burger. I'm going to Burger King.
I want a really good burger when I wake up and haven't eaten in 8 hours.
Do you know the correlation between Burger King and Robert Downey Jr.?
No.
So he tells a story that one of the times that he realized that he needed to get sober was after waking up after his horrible drug bender. he ate one of the worst burgers he's ever eaten in his life from Burger King, and it made him drive out to the coast and throw his drugs in the ocean.
Seriously?
Yes.
Okay. That's interesting.
So the fact that the first thing he wants is a burger from Burger King
Favreau
is
was
hilarious
like, get
to
it from
me.
Burger King. Get it from Burger King. I love it. I love that Favreau cast himself as Happy Hogan as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm just going to do this role, though. And you're like, great, it's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't have to do much, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I love the role that he plays in the future movies as he starts to grow more as a character, too.
For sure, yeah.
Popping up in that new Spider-Man preview as well.
Yeah.
Hitting
Yeah.
on hot AMA.
I
so
think
great.
I think something might be happening between them.
I would love that.
Because, I mean, why would he know that she has a new dress?
That's the point of the preview,
Apparently-
James. You got it.
Apparently he's seen her clothing. But we'll get there. But I love that entire scene on the plane between Rhodey and Tony.
Oh, yeah.
And, oh my
So
god, the
funny.
strippers.
It's so good. Like, Tony just orders the sake with the stewardesses, and he's like, no, I don't want any. And then the next scene, he's completely drunk, just telling Tony about how much he loves wearing the uniform, and he knows that everyone around him got his back. And it's such a great scene.
It's a really amazing scene. It's so that private jet is so millionaire, billionaire, playboy dream. It's so over the top.
Yeah.
The stripper pole in it and the stewardesses / dancer, like, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
I
It's
mean,
great.
that would be a dream for me. I want to have my own private plane.
You do love strippers. Oh,
With
James.
strippers, with an automatic stripper pole that comes up in the middle of my plane while I drink sake. Sounds great. So they finally get out to the desert.
I see James flying alone, like, well, let's have
guess
some
this is life
sake and
now.
dancing.
So they finally get out to the desert, right? And we get the Jericho demonstration, which is so cool. So
It's
cool.
awesome. The shock wave that comes through, it's so
The way
awesome.
that it rolls through him and into the crowd, and that opening speech where he kind of raises his arms up above his head as the Jericho explosion goes off, it's brilliant. It's such a awesome scene.
Yeah, I saw some behind the scenes footage from that scene, and it's so cool to see how they were developing it. You know what I mean? Like, Favreau knew he wanted a wide shot, but they took a couple takes to figure out what Tony should do with his hands, right? And it's so perfect. And when you see the behind the scenes, it's just an air cannon, right? It's just an air cannon that just blows some dust and gives the effect of that explosion, and then the CGI builds everything else and really fills the atmosphere. I love filmmaking. I can't wait
Yeah,
to
that's an awesome
one day
fact.
work in film, and I envy the fact that you're studying and doing all that kind of stuff, man. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's great. It's a great little tidbit. I don't know why I just assumed they set off bombs behind Robert Downey Jr. Now that you say that, I recognize that they could not possibly have done that.
And I forgot where they were filming, but it's not actually in Afghanistan.
It looks like kind
but
of
it
like
just
New Mexico, like the Mojave
kind
Desert.
of. Yeah, that's what I think it is. But they wanted to find like the right amount of mountains to make it look like it's actually in Afghanistan. But yeah, the box opens up. He's like, I'm gonna throw these in with every purchase of what was it like
500 million.
Yeah,
or
500
something
million.
like
yeah, 500 million or more to peace. He's just so good, man. He's just so good in this movie.
My favorite part too is across the board, all the technology still holds up. But the one thing for me that I kept laughing at was his little LG Verizon flip phone video camera.
Yeah.
And it's just hysterical because even like 2 years later when they did other movies, they had actual iPhones in them. But that thing, it's just so funny. It's this little bitty sidekick looking thing that the video camera pops up, and I'm sure when I saw the movie I was like, oh, that's really cool. Technology's crazy.
Yeah.
It's just hysterical.
And then when you look back, it's like, what
What
even
the hell do
is
you
this?
have in your hand? And he
Yeah.
probably built it himself.
It's so funny too, looking back at like jumping ahead a little bit, but like the tech on the Iron Man suit too. I remember being so blown away with it, and it looks like so minuscule now for like what he can do with his suit
Right?
now.
I actually, when they were showing like how it just pieces all on him, I realized that my favorite is, I think it's Iron Man 2, where he flies into his house and it just starts pulling off or flying on. I actually prefer that to the nanotech suits that he has in Infinity War.
Really?
Which, just visually, I mean,
Okay.
obviously the nanotech suit makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
But visually, I do love him being soldered and screwed and put into the Iron Man suit. It gives you that feel of this is a man inside of a metal piece of armor. Whereas kind of the evolution is this is a man who wields a metal armor suit.
That's a really good point.
I like that, yeah.
Yeah, because
Thank you so much.
No, that's really, it's really cool, because when you look at the Mark 1, for instance, like, it's just him inside of this thing. It's not reinforced. It doesn't have all of the cool toys. This is just a man inside of a suit, but it's still the man pushing forward to fight against these people. That's a really good point. Because
I think a lot about this, and in my personal time.
One of my favorite, like, recent arcs of Iron Man is the Superior Iron Man storyline, where he uses the symbiote Iron Man armor. And obviously, because they can't use a symbiote in the MCU, when I saw the nanotech, that was one of the first things I thought of. I was like, this is really cool, because there's not parts that can just be blown off. It kind of just regenerates and rebuilds itself. Yeah, that was really cool. But so the Humvees get attacked, everything gets blown up, and he sees that these are Stark missiles, these are Stark guns, and it cuts directly to him being in the cave and Jensen patching him up. And I love the Jensen character. He's so important to this movie.
Oh, yeah. For as little screen time as he gets, he plays such an integral role to this movie.
He plays such an integral role to Tony's entire evolution over the MCU.
Yeah.
I know that's a little farther down, but obviously we'll get there, but he does kind of tell him, go out and like be the best version of yourself, make your life mean something. And I feel like Tony hears that in his head for the rest of the Marvel movies that he's a part of. Just that idea of how do I make my presence on this earth benefit more than just myself.
Yeah. He tells him, don't waste it. Don't waste this moment. Like, and he doesn't. You see the evolution of him going forward. He really takes this and learns from it. And how terrifying would it be if you woke up after an explosion and found this thing attached to your chest that's hooked up to a car battery?
I could not even vary. Like, the whole thing is so frightening. And he wakes up, he's been taken captive, his chest is like blown to pieces, he's got a car battery hooked up to him, he doesn't know what's going on. And he handles it really well, given, he knows how to deal with stress. I'll give him that. I can't do the grocery store on a Saturday.
I can't do the mall on a Saturday.
I can't do the mall,
far away from that. But
I've done my time in a mall. I'm not going back.
Yeah, same.
But you can see the terror on his face. Like, he doesn't know where he is. You know what I mean? Like you said, like he handles it eventually, but it's just like, what is this attached to me? And Jensen holds up the little vial that has the metal pieces in it, and I love that entire scene. He talks to him about, we call people that have this the Walking Dead, because it takes a week for all of this to get through to the vital organs and pretty much just kills you. You know what I mean? Is like, and he sees this is what his weapons are doing to people. People are dying because of the weapons that he built, because Obadiah Stane is selling these people these weapons under the table, and you can tell that he's hurt from this.
Yeah, definitely. It's a major eye-opening moment for the character, and he does such a good job of expressing that, like, just with his face, kind of like recognizing, and in the conversations that he has later down the road in the movie. But yeah, it's a powerful scene.
Yeah, and again, back to Jensen, like Jensen telling him, we actually met at a conference a couple of years ago, but you were so drunk you don't even remember. And it just shows him the error of his ways, Like, Jensen talks about family and asks him, like, yeah, who do you have? And he's like, I don't have everyone. And that line of dialogue, I feel like every line that Jensen has is just brilliant. He's like, so you're a man that has everything and nothing.
Yeah.
Like, I just love that, because he's finally starting to see, without his money, with all of these things that people want from him, what is he really?
Yeah.
Which is great. It's just a great character to help him make that evolution and to go on that journey. The actor is fantastic. Again, their chemistry is really great. I'm starting to think maybe it's Robert Downey Jr. Maybe it's just hard to not get along with Robert Downey Jr. in a scene because he's so talented. But I love that he was in a suit. Like, he's a hostage in a cave, but he's still wearing a suit. He's still very proper. He just strikes you as someone who is a really good man, and something terrible happened to get him in this position. And thankfully, he's there for Tony when Tony needs him, because he kind of changes the whole course of Tony's life.
Yeah, he really does. And I love the introduction to the 10 Rings. And watching this movie again reminded me why I hate Iron Man 3 so much. Because the 10 Rings, this is an organization made of people from all over the world. They're not just from Afghanistan. They said people from Hungary, there's people from Russia, there's people from everywhere. The 10 Rings is this huge organization, and I thought it would have been more impactful if Iron Man couldn't just punch his way out of a situation. You know what I mean? This is an organization that is terrorizing people across the globe, and this is something that he has to fight constantly.
Right.
And I felt like they just completely pissed that away in Iron Man 3.
Well, and they set it up so well in Iron Man 1, because there are even moments where they're talking outside the door, and Tony asks Yensing, like, what are they saying? He's like, I don't know, they're speaking Hungarian. Like, you get this sense very early in the film that this isn't your typical, like, movie style, stereotypical Middle Eastern terrorist group. This is something bigger and something different. And of course, if you know the comics, you're aware of what the 10 Rings is and what they do. And they just lost all of that by Iron Man 3 so that they could pull, like, a gimmick that didn't even work.
Yeah. And I get that's Shane Black's humor, but I mean, it doesn't fit into the MCU.
It didn't.
And what's interesting to me is the fact that Kevin Feige let it happen. You know what I mean? He seems like a person that's very in control of the overall arc of these films, and something like that just doesn't fit.
I think I just had a little bit of a mouth stroke. Sorry about that. I don't think that they really had it fully planned as early as we think they did.
That doesn't sound like Kevin Feige, though.
It just based on everything that I've looked into with it. You know, you ever try to, like, Google the actual specific timeline of when events are happening, and that kind of keeps changing. And I think by the time Iron Man 3 came out, they probably had a much better idea of what they wanted it to look like. So, but maybe they didn't. You know, maybe that's why Iron Man 3 is that weird miss where it just feels so... Like, Thor Dark World is not great, but it still moves the story forward.
Yeah, it's still significant.
Yeah. Iron Man 3 is not good, and it doesn't seem to fit.
It doesn't. It doesn't fit in anywhere.
I like it as a Shane Black movie. I don't like it as an MCU movie.
Yeah.
I'm a massive Shane Black fan, minus the Predator.
The new Predator?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it. I love the first Predator so much that I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it to my memories of watching the original Predator.
It's good for like 10 minutes.
So now we have to review the Predator.
Honey,
so
if
we can talk
something's
about
good
it.
for 10 minutes and then it stops being good, move on.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the introduction to the leader of the 10 Rings. I can't remember his name, but I love the actor. He's in so many different things. He's in Black Mirror. He's been in so many different things. And I love this guy, but I feel like he's given such generic bad guy dialogue.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? Like, the henchmen, they literally tremble around him. If you really look at the henchmen around him, they're trembling around him. It's like, we get it.
We get it.
He's the leader.
Scary.
He's the bad guy. He talks very calmly. But I also
Which we know from the Solo podcast you're not a fan of.
I'm not. I find it really, really boring. But I like his dialogue. I like some of his dialogue, where he talks about Genghis Khan and the bow and arrow being like the pinnacle of war technology, and then go years later and now it's a piece of Stark tech.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I love that whole thing because he's right. You know what I mean? Stark Industries, you brought this upon yourself, really.
Yeah.
I do think that ultimately they just didn't want to invest too much time in creating a great villain there because of what happens later in the film. I mean, he's really...
Makes sense.
In those scenes, you think this guy's going to be really important, and then he's really not.
Yeah.
You know, so I understand that he's not the strongest. He's just kind of your average bad guy, like you said, you know? It's like, he's a very good character actor, though, that guy.
Yeah. I love him. But I also love like the sketch of the first like Mark I suit. Like the first time I saw it, I'm like, man, this took me straight back to the comics, like seeing the Mark I Iron Man suit. And I love that entire sequence of him building the suit, you know, tearing apart the missiles and pretty much creating the arc reactor so that he can continue to work on building the suit. I love that entire sequence.
Their chemistry
it's
again
great.
is so good, where he's like carrying the raw material while it's still hot for the arc reactor over, and he's like, don't spill it. He's like, I would never spill it. They're just very quickly, you realize they both care about one another.
Yeah, it's like, I have steady hands. How do you know you're still alive? You know, like I love all of their exchanges. And when they're starting to build a suit, they find, well, when they run out of time, when the bad guy tells them that they have 24 hours to assemble the missile, and they're putting the suit together and everything. This is the moment. It took me watching it today to realize if Jensen doesn't sacrifice his life, maybe Tony dies and nothing else in the MCU happens.
Yeah, which would make Jensen the most important character in the first movie of the MC universe.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I mean, even though they set you up to think they're going to kill him, what would be the point? You know what I mean? Like, you're pretty much screwing yourselves over with this deal you had with Obadiah by not killing Tony.
Yeah.
The whole point was to kidnap him so that he can build weapons for you. Why would you kill him? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, you screwed over your American contact, and now you don't have someone to build your missiles. So it doesn't make sense that the film is trying to tell us that they might kill him when we know that they won't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
also kind of took it more to be like, Tony feels like he's only got a little bit of time left, because again, he's part of that Walking Dead contingent with the shrapnel in his chest. So he even says, this could power my heart for 50 lifetimes, or it would give me enough juice to do one big thing.
Yeah, for like 15 seconds.
For like 15 seconds. And so I think he's willing to sacrifice himself. I don't think it ever occurs to him that Jensen might have to sacrifice himself.
Yeah.
The whole thing, too, about Obadiah hiring them to kill Tony and then them not, and taking him hostage to build weapons. I feel like if that was kind of their overall plan, maybe don't like bomb that way. Maybe bomb more discreetly, because it was very plausible that he could have died in the first attack.
Oh, majorly.
So, you know, maybe they're not great bad guys.
Not at all.
Not at all.
But I love that whole scene, you know, of after Jensen dies and he's going through the cave and he's kicking everyone's ass and the bullets are repelling off of him.
Such a good scene.
It's so good. My turn.
Yeah. I feel really bad for the stunt guy. That suit was like 100 pounds.
Oh, I bet it was.
And he had to walk around in that thing for hours. Like, it's crazy what people have to put their bodies through while you're making a film.
Yeah.
But I love that entire sequence with the flamethrowers around the weapons. He's destroying it while they're trying to kill him with his own weapons.
Right.
Which is absolutely insane.
Always a cool shot. It's always a cool shot when they linger on the Stark technology on the side of a weapon or on the side of a box. Like, it doesn't feel heavy-handed. Every time they do it, it either makes you laugh or it makes you go, ooh.
Yeah. There's a purpose to it.
Yeah. And we finally find out that the suit can fly.
Oh my god, I love it so
I
much.
love that scene. And the score throughout this film.
The music.
So good. So good.
Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine helped with the guitar work, and which is so like that. It's
such a good score.
So cool.
They did a great job of mixing rock music and then like new like score that they had written for it. And I am a big fan of kind of breaking down what music they use in the MCU movies, and I thought it played great in Iron Man. The same way that it plays amazing in Ragnarok, much later down the line.
Oh yeah, that's my favorite score in any of the MCU movies.
Those are definitely my top two favorite scores.
I listen to the Ragnarok score all the time.
I will say I listen to the Guardians of the Galaxy 1 soundtrack a lot, but not the score. Like the Ragnarok score is it.
Mark Mothersbaugh, he's the best.
So good.
So my favorite score is Winter Soldier, because that's still like my favorite movie, my favorite MCU movie.
That's my favorite
too.
It's
just so good. But he flies and then he falls, and somehow he survives.
Yeah, that was my thing. I was like, how did he survive? He just
that was kind of like a nuke the fridge moment for me for a little bit.
It's like comics. It's okay.
Suspend your disbelief a little bit.
I loved that scene too, where Rhodey and he are reunited. And Rhodey makes the joke of, next time you're riding with me. But then when he embraces him, you really see that emotion on his face of, I thought I lost you. And it's a very touching scene. It's funny, but it's also very emotionally touching.
Yeah.
Powerful.
How long do you guys think he was out in the desert?
I think like 7 days.
I don't know. Yeah, it had to be a short amount of time for Rhodey to still be in the area and everything.
Yeah, like like you said, I love that embrace. I love the fact that it's like, dude, I finally found my friend. Like, I thought my friend was gone.
Right.
I thought I would never see him again. And again, it's just a testament to how great their chemistry is in that film. And they get back, they're on the plane, he's holding his hand, walking him down the ramp, and Pepper's crying. And I love that exchange again.
Yeah.
The chemistry between these characters is so good.
Eyes
like,
a little red.
Yeah, a little
so
red
good.
for your old boss.
Like, I
Tears
hate
of
job
joy.
searching.
Yeah, I hate job searching.
I hate job searching.
And they're on the way to the press conference. He stops to get a burger from Burger King. And do you guys like Burger King?
I am allergic to wheat, so I haven't been to Burger King in over 8 years.
Do they not have like gluten-free buns? What? It's
I'm a big fan of
2019.
Five Guys. They do a delicious lettuce wrap. Five Guys, if you're listening, we're taking sponsor donations.
Yes, I also love Five Guys.
I love Five Guys.
Five Guys is great.
Oh,
my brother
gosh.
used to work for Five Guys.
Oh, good job, everyone. No, I remember a long time ago when I was cool that a Whopper from Burger King was the absolute best thing for a hangover you could ever get.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Yes.
that makes it a good hamburger, though.
I like it now and again. There's just something about the patties themselves is just a little different from like McDonald's or Wendy's or something. But I love Five
broiled.
Guys. Yeah.
Yeah, this is that good meat.
But we get to the press conference and I don't know, everyone it doesn't really seem like they're exactly happy to see him. It's just like, oh, now I have a new story. I have something new to talk about. And that reporter, she's very cold, but I guess you have to be a reporter to
She's
get the job
also
done.
pissed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would be a little pissed.
Like,
too.
don't kick me out of this house.
But you know what? When Pepper gets the car for her, isn't Tony's mansion on like an island? Is there a car that takes her to a
on a big
boat?
hill in Malibu.
Okay, because they kind of made it.
It does
to
say
me,
Malibu,
it looked,
California
Yeah.
on the like whenever it zooms out, which I thought was I don't know. Whenever they like location tag in movies, sometimes it takes me out of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does. Whenever you see that first shot of the outside of the house, it says Malibu, California underneath it.
And there are shots in later films where he's driving up a really long, windy road to get to the house.
Right,
So
right.
I think it's on a cliffside,
Yeah.
not like an island, but close.
So I love the whole press conference where he talks about, he's realized that he's become comfortable with a company that is completely okay with zero accountability. After seeing young American soldiers who's given their lives so that everyone in the United States can be safe, so everyone can be safe, and they're being killed with the weapons that he made to protect them. Like, and all of that dialogue is just so good. Jon Favreau is really good at dialogue.
Yeah.
He really
I love
is.
his stuff. And it really drives the point home when he says that effective immediately, I am shutting down the weapons manufacturing division. Like, he doesn't want this to happen ever again. It's such a powerful scene. And when you see this film for a second time and you realize Obadiah's motivations, you see the
why
look.
he
Yes.
steps in like that.
Well,
Yeah.
the way that he steps in and the way that he should sit down, and you're just like, oh, okay, yeah. No, I see this now. So we've probably all seen the film like 10 times.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
it's
much
just
more
so many
than that.
times.
Yeah.
I've definitely seen. It's one that I've seen like repeat viewings less than other ones in the MCU, but probably at least 10
You're
times.
watching The Incredible Hulk a lot at night.
Oh, you know it.
Yeah.
And
I am an Edward Norton fan.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, I
like
love
no
it.
one remembers that Eric
Yeah.
Bana was the Hulk.
Yeah.
I don't think Eric Bana
we don't
does.
want to.
No.
Yeah. The Hulk dogs, really?
Oh my god. Okay. Sorry.
Nick Nolte as a giant cloud.
Let's stop.
Join us next week for a takedown of Ang Lee's The Hulk.
We should do that.
Oh
one
my
of these
God.
days.
I would love to do that movie.
Yeah, because I mean, he does try. There are scenes where it's like, oh, you're literally trying to make this look like a splash page.
Yeah.
These transitions are actually like a comic book, but it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Nope.
But I mean, you have to experiment. You don't
have to
know.
experiment.
You get to look at Jennifer Connelly for a little while.
Yeah.
That's good.
She's
That's
cool.
always good.
Yeah. And then it was Liv Tyler, I want to say.
Liv Tyler in
Hulk,
the Incredible Hulk, yeah.
Which it's crazy to think that, and we just got way off topic, I'll bring it back, I promise. The MCU started with Iron Man in May of 2008, and then the Incredible Hulk came out in June of 2008. And what a different universe it would have been if they would have led with Edward Norton's Incredible Hulk. I don't know if we would have gotten... It's almost like when Universal tried to spin up the Dark universe for Universal.
Yeah.
And they led with
Mummy.
Tom Cruise's The Mummy, and now we haven't heard a peep about that universe.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
Invisible Man, they are moving forward with. They're
Who's the
talking
Invisible
about.
Man?
I don't know who. It was Johnny Depp.
Yeah, it was.
And then
yeah.
they realized that people want to probably come see the movie. So
Yeah, and I can't remember. There was a recent story where they were talking about people that were in the running for it. So the Invisible Man movie is still alive, but I don't know if it's going to be that interconnected thing with Russell Crowe's character and all of that stuff. So
weird.
yeah, it's strange.
Yeah, but yeah, well, we can talk about the Dark Universe.
It is good that it started with Iron Man, and you know, this scene in particular, I think a lot of people, when they're watching him, say, like, I'm not going to make weapons anymore. They may just think he has PTSD.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think a lot of people probably thought he was serious, and that's why you've got, like, the stocks going down and them removing him from all of the board meetings. Like, he just needs to go heal, but it's like, no, he is serious.
Yeah.
He has made up his mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, and that comes from their ignorance, right? We live in the U.S. We don't know what these soldiers actually have to go through on a daily basis, and he got to see it up front.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And he got to see the civilians up front,
Yeah,
which is something
exactly.
we never get from a faraway, distant position on it.
Yeah, like this movie does a really good job of bringing that home. And I love getting to see the huge arc reactor that's pretty much powering the entire facility, and to see that he was able to shrink this down with scraps, like Obadiah says, in a cave. You know what I mean? Like, this shows the genius of Tony Stark.
So smart.
Yeah, and the arc reactor looks like it changes depending on, like, scene to scene. Because when he shows Obadiah the arc reactor in that scene, it looks really different from the following scene when Pepper is pulling out the old one to put in the new one. And I know that comes...
That scene.
Yeah,
I
love
wish
that scene.
she had washed her hands.
Yeah,
Yeah,
She just
she
sticks her
doesn't.
hand. She just goes in there, you know, and I'm sure Pepper's a clean lady, but she just sticks her hand right into this chest cavity hole.
Yeah, it's like, this is not a clean room.
You just wash them.
And your chest is just open. Like,
I love
this is
how
weird.
they did that scene too, because it's a prosthetic chest, and Robert Downey Jr. is basically sitting upright in the chair, and then they have the prosthetic chest coming out, and it's seamless. Like it looks so good. And I've said it on this podcast before. I'm all about the practical effects, and I love
Definitely
that there are really, really good practical effects in this movie, along with really good CG.
Yeah, my favorite type of CG is where it removes things. Like, I love it when it removes, like, strings, and, like, when you put, like on the Humvee, there's this giant machine gun. There's actually a camera on the end of the machine gun, but you use CGI to remove it. That's some of my favorite stuff.
So you like CG when it complements the practical effect.
Exactly. Yeah.
I like CG when it builds a believable space universe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't like when it's CG'd like on animals or like something small that you need to get to do the right thing in a scene, and they use CG and you're like, why didn't you just cut that part out?
Yeah.
You know? But I mean, CG, it's personal.
Yeah, I mean, and the human eye is trained to find those differences, right? Like, even though the de-aging technology is still really good, the human eye is still gonna pick up on.
I want it on me.
But what was the next scene after?
So we go the big
Pepper,
the announcement.
he puts
Pepper,
in the new arc reactor, and then
I think we go right into him trying out the suit, right?
Right, yeah. He starts building other pieces of the suit.
All that kind of montage type of scene.
The fire extinguisher robot. The
How
fire
awesome is that
extinguisher
robot?
is the best, you guys. He's so good. And the scenes with him testing the suit, because at first he just has the feet.
Yeah.
And he tries to fly, and that doesn't go well.
Yeah.
And then he tries to put the hand stabilizers into the suit, which he accidentally creates a great weapon, but he's just trying to figure out how to fly. And they didn't jump from, I want to be Iron Man, to I built it. They really let you linger in that space of him designing the suit and figuring the suit out and testing the suit. And it really works. You realize you don't get that in a lot of films, you know, when they center on things like that. So I loved it.
Yeah.
And the fire extinguisher robot.
Yes.
It's a really good montage. Like you get a lot out of it. Like you said, seeing him starting with the boots, then the hand gauntlets, the stabilizers, and then, you know, when he actually gets to take it for a real test run. Like, Jarvis, sometimes you have to run before you can walk.
Yeah, and Jarvis is like, okay.
Yeah, and he's insane. He's absolutely insane. You are flying this thing with no authorization over civilian airspace.
He's never flown outside before.
Yeah.
He tries to fly it as high up as he possibly can. That suit freezes over. And he falls to earth. You guys ever been on a roller coaster that drops you? Like,
I love
that suit would be filled with my poo if that were to happen to me. There is no way. And I'm sorry if I just gave everyone listening the worst mental image. But I am a lady. I should not have said that. But just the fear that you would have felt falling. And he's just like, I'm going to get it back online.
Yeah. I am obsessed with wanting to skydive and pretty much anything that can get my adrenaline pumping. So thinking of being in that suit, going as high up as possible, trying to beat what kind of plane was it? I can't remember what kind of plane was it, but it's a stealth plane that goes up like 85,000 feet. Like, just thinking about that height, you know what I mean? Like, you have to test the limits, because of course this helps him out later on in the film. You know, so watching him test the suit was really cool. He zooms in on the little kid on the Ferris wheel.
And the kid's like, drops his ice cream with his tongue half out.
Like, I just love all of it. And he gets back to his mansion and he falls right through the roof onto his car.
Onto the Shelby, too, which is like the only car in there that I was like, I would take that car.
And then we get fire extinguisher robot
to the rescue.
It's such a good scene, and I love it.
I love it. I love it, too. I love it.
Yeah, so the next scene, he's watching the news, and you gotta love and hate the media, the way that they find the perfect picture to try to make it look like he's absolutely insane. And he didn't even get invited to, was it his fundraiser?
Own charity ball.
Yeah, charity ball. He wasn't even invited. So he sees it on the news, and he tells Jarvis to, you know, paint the new suit, and then he goes, right? And that's where he meets Pepper. Does he meet Pepper first?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he meets Pepper first, and she looks great.
She always looks good.
She looks amazing in that dress.
She uses her own Goop products. You guys know what Goop is, right?
Yeah, of course.
Go Google it. Goop. You're welcome.
So she looks great in the dress, and Tony sees her, and Tony is approached by Phil Coulson.
Yes.
And Clark Gregg is amazing from the very first scene.
He's fantastic.
Because he was even at the press conference.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and he's trying to get Pepper to set up a thing. And I actually took it down how he says SHIELD, because they don't say SHIELD the whole movie.
Yeah, it's Strategic Homeland Intervention Enforcement and Logistics Division.
Perfect. Do you know what it was originally called?
I can't remember.
So the first name for it was Supreme Headquarters International Espionage and Law Enforcement Division.
Okay.
And then in 1991, they changed it to Strategic Hazard Intervention Espionage Logistics Directive.
Oh, okay.
It was not called Strategic Homeland Intervention Enforcement and Logistics Division until this movie.
Okay.
Which, to me, that sounds like the most, like, real-world version.
I mean, seriously, what the hell is Strategic Hazard Intervention Espionage Logistics Directive?
When things get really bad, call us.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So I loved that running joke of, oh, damn, that's a lot to have to say. And then...
We're working on it.
Yeah, we're working on it.
He's just so good, and I hate that he died in Avengers, but I mean...
I hate that more that they brought him back in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan of that show, honestly.
I've never watched it.
I've seen the first season.
You're not missing anything. The first season is meh, and then everything else is just...
I've seen some of the stuff with Ghost Rider later on, and Ghost Rider looks dope, but...
Yeah,
I didn't even know they ever had Ghost Rider on the show.
Yeah,
but I mean, what are
you
competing with? Nick Cage's Ghost Rider movie?
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to be fine.
I have a soft spot for Nick Cage.
Oh, I watch it every time it's on TV.
It.
I'm not going to lie to you
guys. The second one, when he pisses fire, I mean, come on. That's like the funniest thing ever.
Spirit of Vengeance is kind of unwatchable for me.
Yeah.
It's pretty terrible, but that scene is really funny.
It's pretty great.
But, where were we? I got completely
We're
lost.
at the charity ball.
He's going to the charity ball. He's dancing with Pepper after he blows off Phil Coulson.
Yeah, so
they have a moment.
They have their little moment where she says that she forgot to wear deodorant when she came out to the ball, and she's dancing with Tony, and you can imagine what other people are thinking,
Saying,
you know, because
yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
she works for him, and they probably think they're sleeping
Yeah,
together.
they
And
probably think he's sleeping with every woman he's ever been in the same room with.
True.
That's true. So, I mean, she shouldn't be as surprised. Everyone would just assume that they have that. So they go up to the roof, and they have this, like, really, really great moment, and that's the moment where we realize that they might actually have something.
Right.
Well, for me, Tony realizes that he has feelings for Pepper when he's in the cave with Jensen. When he realizes that he doesn't have anyone, when he really has Pepper.
Yeah.
You know, she's always there
always
for him.
her.
Yeah.
I thought it was when she had her hand in his chest. And not just because that's funny to say, but when she walks off after that, he has that look on his face like something just happened to him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point.
All that matters is that they are in love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he leaves to go get, well, she attempts to kiss him. And I mean, I don't know. I thought he would have leaned in for the kiss, but it looks like he wasn't ready for it.
Yeah.
It was really, really weirred. But
Maybe
he goes
he's
to get
following
her.
Hitch rules, like let them go 90, you
And
only
you go
go
10.
10. Yeah.
But I think she went like 95.
Yeah, she was like
Yeah.
98.7.
But he goes to get her a drink, and then he never actually comes back because he bumps into the reporter again, and she shows him pictures of even more Jericho missiles in the hands of the 10 Rings. And he's like, well, he shut down the division. You know what I mean? So how did this happen? He finds Obadiah, and he's like, who do you think locked you out? Yeah. I did this to protect you. Like, this is what we do now.
Right.
You know what
Which
I mean?
I was surprised Obadiah gave him that much. That he didn't keep that secret. But I guess he doesn't think he's a threat.
Yeah, because, I mean, he's in control of the board. The board has made a decision to push him out of the company. Well, off of the board that makes the decisions. You know what I mean? And I love the next scene where he's just sitting there with the gauntlet. He's tweaking it, watching the news. And I think it's called Gulmira.
Gulmira, yeah.
Yeah. So I love that entire scene where he's watching his weapons destroy civilizations, towns of people. People are being murdered with his weapons, and he puts on the suit. And the visual effects in this scene are so good, and the acting he does with his face, like you said, Brad, like he's able to emote so much with just facial expressions.
Especially those inside the helmet shots that become so iconic later on in other movies. But it's so hard to picture anybody else doing it. Like I keep coming back to that. It's this is his role, like 100%.
Yeah. So he lands there and he just starts killing people.
Yeah. I mean, like immediate, like just boom in killing people. I love how they gave you a little bit of time there with the son trying to run to his father and then being pulled away and then being like, just kill him, and then Iron Man is in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was a really, really powerful scene where he comes in. I mean, he's protecting them. Like, he is killing people, but he is protecting this village of people. And I love where he grabs the guy, throws him at the people, and he says, "He's all yours." Yeah, he just flies off, and he gets hit by that tank round, and all it does is scratches the paint.
Oh, yeah.
My favorite part is when he turns around and the little, like, wasp-like missiles fly out of his arm, and he just turns around and is walking off, and the whole tank blows up.
Yeah. Of course, because cool guys don't look at explosions.
No.
Exactly. That's why I chose that scene for the little promo trailer that I put together.
I knew immediately. I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's just such a cool scene where he just walks off, and ILM does such an incredible job with those visual effects.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the suit is clearly CGI, but it looks like it's a real thing there.
We said it before we started recording, but this movie's 11 years old, and
it
still looks so damn good.
Yeah, it looks
Aside from
so
the
good.
flip phone, it's on point, you know?
And for those of you that don't know the films that ILM has done, they've done Star Wars, they've done Indiana Jones, they've done Alien, the Marvel movies, they've done so many different movies. Like, there's such an incredible, like, visual effects company. It's crazy.
Yeah, them and Weta are like the top of the top.
So we finally get to the scene where Tony is flying through the air, like we were talking about before. He was going so fast, and the jets are following him. And I just love that entire exchange between him and Rhodey, because I think Rhodey calls him first, or was it the other way around?
No, Rhodey calls him
Rhodey
first.
definitely calls him.
And he says, "We have a bogey. Are you by any chance deploying any of your new tech out there?"
Yeah, I love that entire exchange. It's like, no, I'm driving with the top down. It's okay. That's why you get the win. Like I just love that entire sequence. And when they realize that it's actually it's a man in a suit.
Well, because the plane flips, so they think they lose it, and the plane flips, and the other plane sees that the suit is hanging on to the belly of the plane.
Yeah.
That is so much fun.
Yeah, it's so much fun to watch because I mean they've never seen anything like that. No one's ever seen anything like that. It's such a new concept and far beyond anything that I think anyone would even think would be possible. You know what I mean? So it's like, what even is this thing? And you can't shoot it down because it's attached to your partner's plane. So it's like, what do I do in this moment? And they do the barrel roll, which was really fun to watch. And they shake him off. And Iron Man hits into the other plane, and the guy has to eject. And of course, his chute doesn't work.
Yeah. Of course
it doesn't. But it gives him a really cool moment to save the guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It shows that he is a hero. He did technically kind of cause it to happen, but he is a hero in sacrificing himself to save the guy. Because, I mean, if he fell any further, who knows what could have happened.
Yeah.
You know? He could have died in that moment. And you can tell that Rhodey's pissed, but he's really intrigued by what he's seeing at the same time.
I love that moment where they hang up the phone. He's like, oh, well, I'm driving with the top down. He's like, oh, well, I'm running in a canyon. And he's like, I thought you were driving with the top down. Like,
I'm driving.
And Rhodey just thinks that it's a piece of his technology. And then Tony Stark calls him back and is like, the suit is me. It's me. It's me. And Rhodey's like, shit, what do I even do? And then he tells him, you owe me a plane.
Yeah. You owe me a plane.
You owe me a plane.
And what happens? Tony's like, well, how are you going to cover this one up? And Rhodey is like, well, this isn't just something that we can just cover up, you know what I mean? And Tony's like,
it's a training exercise.
Yeah, just a training exercise. Isn't that the normal BS? And of course it cuts immediately to, in an unfortunate training exercise.
One of the biggest laughs for me in the movie is that scene.
So good.
Most definitely.
Yeah,
I love
those
that.
transitions are so good.
Any type of, like, joke via editing. That's why I love Edgar Wright so much.
Yeah.
Like, he is the king of jokes via editing.
Yeah.
He must have had some bomb PowerPoint presentations in high school. You know what I mean? Because he got that editing file.
Oh, yeah.
He knows what's up. His transitions are really good.
Yeah, and he gets back to his house and he's taking the suit off, and Pepper sees him taking off the suit and he's like, "Come on, you've caught me doing worse things." it's such a good scene. Like the banter again, like I'll keep saying it, is just so perfect.
So good. And her face is so good. It kind of lets you know like she's mad now that she even almost kissed him because he's obviously going to get himself killed.
Yeah.
And that's when she walks in with the package.
Yeah.
Yeah. The package
the
that is
present
later, the present for him.
Yeah, and I love that. Like, it's proof that Tony Stark has a heart.
Mm-hmm.
That little box, too. It's such a great moment in Iron Man 1 where it's the original chest arc reactor with proof that Tony Stark has a heart. And then it's in the new Endgame trailer.
Yeah.
And it gave me chills. It did. I was like, oh, my.
Yeah, it brings everything full circle. And she sees all of the bullet holes in the armor, and again, she feels like, you're just going to get yourself killed. I don't want to be a part of this. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, she cares about him that deeply that she's willing to walk away because she doesn't want to see him kill himself. And Tony's like, you've seen me, you've stood by me as I have profited off of other people's lives, and now that I'm trying to do the right thing, you won't stand by me? You know what I mean? And I really felt that moment. They really sold that scene for me. What about you guys?
Really good speech that he gives. Really well acted, both for him and for her, you know, because she still does walk away. But I think it's because she needs some time to kind of accept what it is. And it's a good kind of look into how he's seeing what he's doing. Like, he's not seeing it as, I'm a hero and I'm killing it. He's seeing it as righting the wrongs.
Yeah.
Which, he's so egotistical, he doesn't really say that ever again.
Yeah.
And I love that there's so many, and what could have just been a straightforward action movie, there are these tender moments in it. And I love, like, just like you guys were saying, it's so well acted, and the chemistry is off the charts between them. And I just love that kind of juxtaposition between this big action sequence that we just had to this really quiet moment between these two characters. it really shows how great of a storyteller Favreau is.
Yeah, I love Chef. Chef is one of my favorite movies of his.
Chef, I just rewatched Chef last week, and it is so good.
It's so good, and I love Tony's dialogue in that moment. He's like, I'm not Crazy Pepper. Like, I just finally know what I have to do. Like, this is the right thing. I know this in my heart. You know what I mean? Like, I love all the dialogue. Like, it's just so good. And again, it just continues to drive that message and the entire arc of him changing from the person he was into the person that he is now and going forward.
Yeah.
Like, I just
it's one of my favorite Iron Man speeches because he gives a lot. Because, like, you know, he is kind of one of the most integral. They're all very important, but he's very integral. And he gives a lot of speeches over the course of all the movies. That one feels very much from the heart. There's no ego to it. It's just very much how he feels. And it's a really well done scene.
Yeah. And what comes after that? Is that the scene where we find out that Obadiah went to the Ten Rings to put the hit out on Tony?
I believe it cuts, right to Obadiah being with the head of the Ten Rings, talking to him about how he should have done a better job.
Yeah, and how cool is that little piece of tech, just using sound waves to paralyze someone for 15 minutes? I'm surprised that the government didn't approve that.
I think that thing is terrifying, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you've tested it and you can see that it's safe, that could save people's lives. Like, it's not lethal. It's 15 minutes of being paralyzed. Like, I think that would be something to save lives. But I mean, I guess you can't make...
In the wrong hands, that is... Oof.
Yeah, just like any other piece of Stark tech.
Yeah, everything,
That's so true.
You know what I mean?
I wonder, I'd have to rewatch that scene. Does he say because the government didn't... It's a shame the government didn't buy it? Or does he say it's a shame this was shut down in production?
I don't know. I think it's something about it not getting approved or something like that.
I got
but
the
it didn't
feeling
go
that
into...
like either the board or Tony or someone had not approved it for further testing.
Probably.
Yeah. Because the
But I thought it
government
would've
would
been cool.
definitely buy it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really cool piece of tech, and he uses it on the guy, and it's like, I don't know why he thought that exchange with Obadiah would go well. You screwed me over. I paid you to kill him, and you decided to take this upon yourself and make your own money. So what did you think was going to happen?
I think that's why he wanted to get the pieces of the original suit out of the desert and put it together. And he must have called Obadiah and said, hey, I made the Iron Man suit. Come and look at it. And I like when he thinks he's being sneaky and he says, you know, I'll give this one to you for free. You are going to make me 1 million Iron Soldier suits.
Yeah.
And that's when Obadiah just like hits him with the sound frequencies of doom.
I love that scene, actually, because I love the device. And, I mean, it's kind of a generic scene because you see the turn coming, right? You know, as soon as Obadiah leaves, he's going to have all of his henchmen kill everyone, and then they're going to move on. And I love the Ironmonger suit. Like, I love the little prototype that they make. And I love the fact that the scientists just can't figure it out.
Right.
It's like, they have the greatest technology in the history of the world right in front of them, surrounded by a team of scientists that are the best in the world. And he's like, I'm not Tony Stark. Like, I don't know how to do this. And again, it just shows the genius and the level of intellect that Tony Stark has.
Yeah.
And they're looking at the giant arc reactor. And they're just like, how do you make this small enough to put... I don't know why I do so many hand gestures. This is not a visual event that we're having. But the arc reactor they're working with is so big. The idea of making it just the same but small is out of this world difficult. And they're telling Obadiah that. And he's like, well, I guess I gotta go get it out of Tony's chest now.
Yeah, which he does, and it's such a terrible scene. Like, just watching him pretty much put this handheld drill into Tony's chest to pry it out of him. You know what I mean? After paralyzing him for 15 minutes, so he's paralyzed, and then these shards of metal are going through his chest, and who knows what could happen. You know what I mean? So he's able to get into the elevator, get downstairs into his lab to get the other arc reactor, and to the rescue, fire extinguisher robot.
Yes.
I love him so much, man. I love fire. He just picks it up and just brings it down to him, and he's like, good boy. I love that scene.
It's so good.
And I love the counteract scene where Pepper is with Coulson.
Yeah.
trying to get to him. And when she's walking out, because she stole the plans from Obadiah's computer.
Yeah, all of the
that
stuff
proved-
about Sector 16.
And she's walking out really fast. And Coulson's like, Pepper, Mrs. Potts, did you forget like our meeting? She's like, nope, walk with me, walk with me, walk
right
with
now.
me, right
I'll
now.
give you
Let's
the
go.
interview of your life. But I love that scene with Pepper because she's able to keep it together so well. You know what I mean? She's able to keep it together enough to get out of the room, even though Obadiah can tell that something's wrong.
Yeah.
He can tell the entire time, but he can't make a move on her in front of everyone else. You know, so she makes it out. He gets the arc reactor, and S.H.I.E.L.D. pulls up in Audis and Fords.
I know. Because
And,
they go straight to the big arc reactor to stop Obadiah, right?
Yeah.
And then Rhodey goes to Iron Man to
Yeah.
save him.
Yeah. Yeah, so we get our first look at the Ironmonger suit, which I thought was really cool.
Oh, yeah.
Huge.
It's awesome.
When the
it
lights, the eye lights open up.
Yeah, it's like a nice, I would say it's like a nice prototype to like a War Machine suit. You know what I mean? Like there's so many different guns on it, miniguns, missiles and stuff. It's just huge.
It's definitely what the government would want from a militarized weapon suit. It has every weapon you would ever need on it.
Yeah, you would think that Tony's suit will be more practical though, because I mean that can fit through normal doors.
Exactly.
Like that's a better infiltration unit instead of this giant thing. But I mean, again, their scientists don't know how to engineer it to make it smaller.
They don't know how to make it more svelte.
Yeah.
You know? Put an A-line on it. You guys don't know dresses.
I don't. So Tony has the original arc reactor in his chest, puts on the suit, and goes straight to Stark Industries to try to save Pepper and everyone else. And he pretty much tells Pepper to set the arc reactor to overload during his fight with Obadiah. And we get that scene with him with the family with the Audi, and he catches it and is like, man, this is...
And then this asshole, this woman, like, he's obviously holding it, and I understand she's very afraid, and she hits the gas.
Like, I'm trying to help you, woman.
What did she think was going to happen? Like, hit the brake, let him put you down. She hits the gas.
Yeah.
And that was when it was called to my attention that Audi had paid for Iron Man.
Yeah, there's so many Audis in this movie. But I mean, it's good product placement. It's like, hey, it'll hold up even if it gets thrown through the air and caught.
For sure.
So
it's a concern everyone
because it just hits the ground and drives off over him.
It's like, see, durability, we're good.
Even shield agents use Audis.
Exactly. But so Tony's suit is pretty much being ripped apart by the Ironmonger armor, and Tony decides to fly up in the air and do the exact same thing. And Jarvis is trying to warn him, hey, you don't have enough power to do this.
He's on like 15%.
Yeah, this is not going to work. But he makes it, and the Ironmonger suit ices over, and I love that scene, because I love when films do scenes like this, and it's done well. You know?
Yeah. A good callback can
good callbacks
really go a long way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, when it's done right, when it happens, you forget about it, and it's like, oh yeah, because a lot of films if they do something like that, they put so much attention on it. It's like, hey, look at this. This is going to mean something later on.
This
and this is done.
Really big deal.
Yeah, and this is done really well. And I love that scene where he falls. Somehow he survives this.
That was weird. I was like,
it's like, I don't think you'll be able to survive this fall.
Yeah.
And where did he even land? I love the fact too that he lands close enough to where he started from. I don't actually think physics works like that.
Yeah.
You know, like
that's a good question. Where does he fall?
Like, you don't know where he lands.
Yeah.
But I like that Iron Man lands and is like, my suit is so low, I have to get out of it. And he's already taken off his helmet and I think it's the left arm he already has off. And then Obadiah comes back in the Warmonger suit.
Yeah, and they're on top of the building, and they're having this huge fight, and Tony's able to pull out the cables for the targeting and all that stuff. So Obadiah is just shooting randomly on the top of the roof, and Pepper sets the arc reactor to overload. It blows up. Doesn't kill Tony, of course, because he's our hero. It just
fine.
He just knocks him over.
He does
a little bit.
a roll.
Yeah,
he
just
rolls,
a roll.
You know, right over
but
to
it
the left.
completely fries Obadiah's suit and kills him.
Yeah.
Who was not even as close to the skylight as... But that's fine. Again, that's fine.
Comics. That's all it is.
Yeah,
comics.
exactly. Comic book logic.
So after that scene, Obadiah falls to his death. Everything blows up. And then it transitions to pretty much... the end where they're getting ready to prepare the speech for him to
the press
explain
conference.
the press conference to explain
Shield's
everything that
written
happened.
him, you know, something to say. That's when they first say shield too.
Yeah. It's like, you and Pepper want a yacht, and Obadiah was on a small plane, and, bad things happen on planes like that. And he gets up, and and this is what I love about RDJ. He's so much into that Tony Stark persona that you already know that he's not going to say that it wasn't him. He's so arrogant that he everyone has to know that it was him. You know what I mean? And I love that scene. He has a whole speech, and he's talking to the reporter, and he's like, I'm not saying that,
I'm not a superhero.
I'm not a superhero.
Obviously not a good guy. I wouldn't be a superhero.
It's my bodyguard, which I love. It's a nice reference to the comics.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, in the comics, he has the arc reactor in his chest because of a heart condition, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's how it is in the comics for you guys that don't know. And and then he's like, I'm just gonna stick to the cards, and he's like, I am Iron Man. And I just love how it cuts. Everyone's freaking out. Rhodey's looking at him like, what the fuck, dude? Just stick to the cards.
And then it starts playing Iron Man by Black Sabbath. It's perfect.
Yeah, it's
I
so
was really surprised to find out that was an ad-lib from Robert Downey Jr.
Really?
Yeah, they had a different ending built. And they shot a couple of the scenes. Like, the original ending was for them to stick to him saying, "That's my bodyguard."
Okay.
Just like in the regular comics. And RDJ would just ad-lib that. And Favreau was like, you know what? That plays really well as the last scene of the movie.
Yeah.
And then he had to go call up Marvel and be like, this is what we're going to do. So they were going to go at the opposite direction and have it as his secret identity for a long time, just like they did in the comics, where he had the, decoy Iron Man that would show up in other places. But it kind of changed the whole idea of it. That's when Marvel was like, we don't have to have them hidden.
Yeah.
And it's all because Robert Downey Jr. did that. I think that's amazing.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, that makes it so much better, honestly.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Well, and it allows for the future movies, like everyone being kind of called by their actual names rather than their superhero names and everything, which I love about this world is it's not... I mean, besides Cap. Cap's really the only one that they refer to. Cap.
Nobody's going to call that. Nobody wants to call him Steve. Look at that man.
Although,
I mean, it's a sign of respect, right? The man he's a captain.
Yeah, he is a captain.
Which, just talking about calling him Steve, my absolute favorite moment in Infinity War is the I am Groot. I am Steve Rogers.
I know.
It's the greatest.
That's great. And also the part when they're on the ship and Spider-Man comes in and the guy's like, who are you? And Doctor Strange is like, I'm Doctor Strange. He goes, we're using our made-up names? I am Spider-Man. And it's like, no, kid.
It's so good.
Well, guys.
It's a great way to end the Iron Man movie, to end it on the Iron Man point. And I love it. And I love that it was the first after credits scene, that we all became... I'm sitting through every freaking credit scene of every movie now from the MCU, and I get tired, and I usually have to pee by the end of the movie.
That's why the one in Homecoming is so great, where Captain America teaches you about patience.
Yeah.
At the end. It's so great.
So good. Now, how cool was that end credit scene? Being able to see Nick Fury, I was like, he's going to talk about the Avengers. He's going to talk about the Avengers.
And it took a while, too, to spin that up. But I just love him as Fury, and I thought that scene was fantastic.
I'm Nick Fury, director of S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm here about the Avengers Initiative. And then you get the score and it just ends. I'm like, yes! It was so cool.
So good.
This movie on a whole is just great. There's really... you can nitpick about anything. But I feel like there's nothing in this film that I would say is like, you know what? I really didn't like that.
Right.
Yeah.
That really just didn't make sense. I feel like it's a really cohesive, well-paced film. It's 2 hours and 6 minutes. A 90-minute film can feel like forever.
Right.
But if it's done well, it can fly by. And
this movie
just loved it.
Soars by. It's so quick, and there's not a moment where it lets off the gas. And that's including those tender moments that in the movie. Those are still so enthralling, and they really capture you. I love it. I love this movie so much.
Yeah, it's crazy. This is the first film out of 22, 21...
21 so far. 22 will be
Endgame. Yeah. Out of all of these films, Iron Man is still like either number 5 or number 6 for me.
Like overall.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely it's in the top 10 for me for sure. I think on my list right now it's at 7.
Yeah.
On there. But that's...
Do you guys break it up? Do you say these are my favorite solo films, these are my favorite group films, or do you...
I just have them all on one big list.
It's so hard, though, to compare.
Yeah.
To me, to compare something like Iron Man to something like the Avengers. It's easier for me to compare Iron Man to Captain America to Thor to Ant-Man. You know what I mean? Those kind of solo films.
Yeah.
And definitely Iron Man is in my top 4 of solo hero films. And in my top 10 of all of them.
Yeah.
So let's go around. What's your favorite MCU movie?
Oh, Jesus. Why do you always ask questions that like I can't possibly answer?
Because it's fun.
Oh. I can say that my favorite solo hero movie is Captain America.
Okay. The
More
first
than
one?
like, the very first one. It just, I think, for me, when I watch the solo hero films, I want something that really encapsulates that character's history in the comic. Even if they change the origin, I want to still feel like that's that. And Captain America did that for me. My favorite film overall might be Ragnarok.
Really?
Yeah, I love Ragnarok.
I love
Ragnarok's
the fact
top 3
too
for me.
that Thor 1 was enjoyable but not great in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's a good try. I was surprised. We can get into that, but
Kenneth Branagh was a great choice for a director for that,
sure.
for that
yeah,
world,
and that's
for
why
sure.
I think I was more disappointed in it because he was like, you know. Thor 2 that we won't talk about, and so Ragnarok just came out of left field. What is his name?
Taika Waititi.
Taika, yeah.
I'm having a mouth problem today, guys. Bear with me. What We Do in the Shadows is a great movie.
Yes.
What he
Oh,
did
yeah.
with that.
Can't
what
wait
he
for the TV
did
series.
with
Yeah.
Ragnarok is amazing.
Oh,
When
yeah.
you really step back and look at it. And his ability to actually give us a little bit of Planet Hulk, which we all know we're never going to actually get a full movie on.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Loved it. So, you know, that for me is really up there. And the first Avengers movie is really up there. Captain America's Winter Soldier, and then Iron Man are probably my 5. Unfortunately, Guardians of the Galaxy 1 always kind of competes when I see it, and then I see the other ones and it gets moved down. But that's also an excellent film.
Yeah.
What about you?
Winter Soldier is my favorite out of any of them because it works so well as a comic book movie and as a spy thriller. Like, and it works so well as a standalone and as something that's advancing the story. Like, just every aspect of it just works so perfectly for me. So for me, it's probably and then Doctor Strange is my favorite solo movie, and that's. I don't know. I really don't know if it's because I just admire that character so much, and he's always been him and Spider-Man are always kind of dueling for my favorite Marvel characters. But Scott Derrickson knocked that movie out of the park for me, and visually the things that he was able to accomplish in that movie. I love Tilda Swinton as the Ancient One.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I love the post-credit scene in that one, setting up with Mordo, and I love Doctor Strange. But it would probably be, Winter Soldier, probably Civil War after that.
Really?
I love
Okay.
Civil War.
I want to say that I love Civil War, but then I watch it, you know, and I remember that there are these pieces of it that just didn't work for me.
Really?
And both of the other 2 Captain Americas are really high on my list. That one's, there's 22 movies. It's definitely mid to high for me. I don't like the fact too that so many people think it's an Avengers movie. I know that's not fair to do to other people, but I'm always like, that's the 3rd Captain America.
Yeah.
But I can understand why you would really like it though, because it is Civil War is so important.
It is. And it's one that I've probably rewatched the most out of any of the MCU movies. I think that's why I love every second of that movie. So it'd be Winter Soldier, Civil War, probably Ragnarok, Doctor Strange, and then, man, I love the first Captain America also. I rewatching that the other night. I just love every second of that movie. So
Hugo Weaving as Red Skull is perfection.
it's amazing. I'm so bummed that he wasn't able to come back in Infinity War.
Well, he doesn't want to.
Yeah, he was just like, no, thank you.
He's like, yeah, I'm done.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
So
that's a good list.
I had never thought of that before. All 3 Captain Americas are in my top 5 Marvel movies, and Captain America himself wouldn't be in my top 5 favorite characters, I think. But those movies are so well done. And Captain America: The First Avenger as a period piece, like, I love it so
Didn't
much.
see it coming. Love the way that it turned out. I didn't know what they were going to do with it, and I thought it was fantastic.
And I am in love with Haley Atwell. I
Yes.
love
Yes,
Agent Carter.
she was
amazing.
fantastic.
Amazing in that movie.
I'm really pissed that show got canceled.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate because she's so amazing. You don't need the script for her to exude power.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to force it.
I don't think
loved
we've seen the
them.
last of her. I
Yeah.
think we'll see her again in Endgame.
I hope so.
I hope so.
I really do.
Yeah, it's an important arc for Cap, especially if they might kill him. I really don't know what's going to happen.
I hope they leave him behind, like, in time. I think, and he gets to live his days out with her.
No,
I think that would be really
I think
cool.
I want him to die. And I don't say that because he's obviously my favorite, but I want him to go out, like, super heroic in Endgame. But we'll see.
We'll see what happens.
we'll see.
We're only, like 5 weeks away from that now?
it's crazy to think about.
Oh, my God.
But my overall favorite MCU film is Winter Soldier, 100%, for everything that you said. I love how great of a spy movie it is. Like, I loved the fact that the Russo brothers wanted to show how athletic, how powerful, how incredible Captain America is as a tactician, as a soldier. And I feel like they did a really good job. The friendship between him and Falcon was great. Getting to see him and Black Widow work together on missions, that was great. One of my favorite lines in the MCU is the elevator scene in that film. Before we get started, does anyone want to get out? I was like, ooh. It's such a good scene. Chris Evans, there is no one else that can be Captain America for me.
Yeah.
He is absolutely incredible. Captain America is my favorite Marvel hero. I've always loved him. I just love that character so much. But my favorite solo film is Black Panther. I feel like that film just has everything. The hero's great. The side characters are just as great. Okoye is amazing. Shuri's amazing.
You know how I feel about
M'Baku is amazing. Killmonger. Killmonger is in my opinion, is the second greatest villain in all of the MCU. Michael B. Jordan is absolutely phenomenal. I love everything about him.
I'll watch anything that he does.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Michael B. Jordan. The only thing I've never seen was his version of Fantastic Four. I just haven't been able to make myself watch it.
Yeah.
You haven't seen that film?
I haven't. You do this every time I say I haven't seen it. You give me the same look you're giving me
I
right now.
envy you so much.
I
Can we
won't do
switch
it.
places?
It's rough.
We have to record it just so I can rip that movie a new asshole.
I think what we should do is record it with me watching it for the first time.
it would be a really nice commentary track.
Yeah.
I've just
Four
always
stick.
been really afraid to see it. And I don't care about the Fantastic Four, the comics. Like, they were kind of auxiliary characters to my actual favorite ones.
I love the Fantastic Four because I love villains, right?
Yeah.
And the
They've got the
Fantastic
villains.
Four brought us the best villains. Galactus. Doctor Doom is my favorite
Dr.
Marvel
Doom.
villain.
Aren't they doing a solo Doom film at some point?
I don't think that's happening.
That was thing that was floating around for a long time, but I haven't heard anything about it.
It doesn't
for the
make
longest
sense
time.
to do a Doctor Doom film that does not involve the Fantastic Four.
Right.
That doesn't make any sense.
Well, now that this Fox Disney deal is happening, and we know that it's inevitable for the Fantastic Four to be joining into the MCU at least relatively soon, I think that any of those plans that Fox had before are probably going to go.
Of course. I don't think that they're good at planning these movies. The X-Men movies are really hit or miss.
Absolutely.
I think the first X-Men is fine. It set up the universe, and I think what excels that film is Hugh Jackman, Patrick Stewart, and Ian McKellen.
Yep.
Certainly not Rogue.
But the film itself is fine. X2 is great.
X2 is
real good.
So
X2
good.
is
My
so
favorite
good. That
X-Men movie.
opening scene with Nightcrawler, it's so
Really,
good.
really good.
X3, one of the worst comic book movies ever made.
Let's pretend
awful.
it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Put that in the hole of your heart that you don't go into on the weekends.
First Class, I really enjoyed.
Yeah, it's good.
Started to pull itself back up. Hey, Kevin Bacon. What
Days
you
of
doing
Future,
here?
he was really,
Really
good.
good?
Yeah, Days of Future Past, phenomenal.
I love Days of Future Past.
And
yeah.
then Apocalypse,
Yes.
trash,
Nope.
absolute
Absolute
garbage.
trash.
And we are
Hot
going to
fire,
talk
dumpster
about
fire.
Origins Wolverine.
It doesn't exist.
That did
It
exist.
doesn't exist.
It
The
doesn't
Wolverine exists. I love
The
the
Wolverine,
Wolverine.
yes.
I
The
love the
Wolverine is really
R-rated
good.
cut of the Wolverine.
Exactly.
That one is super good. And I mean Logan is
Yeah.
Logan is
a masterpiece.
They
Logan
shit
is
the
so-
bed with the Silver Samurai.
Yeah.
That was just not good. It's like, yeah, let's just put him in a piece of armor. I just felt like they could have done something else.
And what they did with
a little
Viper
better.
was just offensive.
Yeah, that's the right word.
Yeah,
offensive.
it's offensive.
Yeah.
Like, this is the woman who later becomes Madame Hydra.
Yeah.
And for anyone who's, zoned out, we are talking about the X-Men.
Yes. On our Iron Man podcast.
This is the thing, though. The Marvel Universe is such a favorite thing of mine.
Yeah,
when
same.
we could get together and just talk about it. And when you see the films come out and they're done really well, like Iron Man or like Winter Soldier, and they give you that same feeling you had when you used to get really excited to get a new comic book when you were younger, you just get so excited. And that's why I've been rewatching all the movies leading up to Endgame and got so stoked, to do the podcast. No one else has gotten that. When Fox has done that with the X-Men, they've never really nailed it. To me, DC has never really nailed it much.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman's
great.
Amazing, far
Till
and
the third
away.
act for me.
Till the third act, yes.
And we'll see what happens with Wonder Woman's 1984.
Yeah, I'm excited for it.
None of the other ones have actually done anything for me.
I really like Aquaman.
I like parts of Aquaman a lot.
I love the whole film. There are choices that I don't necessarily care for, but I'm not James Wan.
Yeah.
But overall, I really, really enjoyed it.
Stop making eye contact with me for a second. I haven't seen it yet.
You need to.
I know.
It's worth
I want to
seeing.
know.
I know.
What your thoughts
And
are.
I meant to see it because I love Jason Momoa and I love that Nicole Kidman is...
She is the best part of the movie for me.
I mean, just amazing.
Really? Okay.
I love Nicole Kidman in that movie.
And I don't mind their interpretation of Mira from what I've seen in the...
She's really
Yeah,
good.
it
Yeah,
looks, and it looks like
surprisingly.
Amber Heard killed it.
Yeah, I think Amber Heard. I think she's one of the worst actresses working today. I
Really?
think she's
I'm
terrible.
not a fan of hers.
I think she's absolutely terrible. But in this film, she's really good.
Yeah,
she
she does a good
grounds him. Like she's actually a character that grounds Aquaman, and I really like what they did.
I wish
now-
Manto would have gotten a little bit more to do, but
Yeah, but we'll see. But
Yeah.
now we've completely strayed away from Marvel.
Yeah.
I'm telling you guys, do not
Comic
drop
books will
me
do it.
into a conversation about comic books. I will take you on a journey you may not have the time to go on.
I would love to have an episode where we just talk about our favorite comics and our favorite arcs.
I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here for that.
I think that'll be really fun. But let's get into some final thoughts on Iron Man. Like, what do you guys have any final thoughts on the film? Like overall, like
it's a movie that I can't wait to see how it affects like future generations, because I feel like it's going to be a milestone.
Right.
Like so many movies that like came before my time, like Blade Runner is for me. Like Blade Runner is number one, like top of the heap for me, and I feel like Iron Man is going to be that for future generations. It's set off this new type of superhero movie, just like Blade Runner set up a new type of sci-fi movie.
yeah.
And it's if it holds up 11 years later, I can't see why it's not going to hold up 25, 30 years later.
Yeah. I think this film did so much for so many different people. Like it revitalized Robert Downey Jr.'s career. He is now one of the highest paid actors ever.
Yeah.
Right now. Like he is killing it. The Judge didn't do great when he tried to branch out, but definitely
I like that
him-
movie, actually.
and I like it too.
Yeah.
But him as Tony Stark, I thought was perfection. The chemistry throughout all the characters in the film was absolute perfection. Like we talked about before, it's either number 5 or number 6 in my entire rankings of all the MCU films. And like you said, I would love to see how this ages. Like 20 years from now, how will people still talk about the Iron Man film, the film that started it all, after seeing Thanos, the Kree, Skrulls, Captain Marvel, all of these different things? How well will it hold up? So I'm very curious to see that as well.
Yeah. For me, it was nice to go back to Iron Man at this period of time because I've been rewatching kind of all of the Avenger movies to get ready for Endgame and to get ready for Captain Marvel, and you kind of forget about the solo films. And I had forgotten that Iron Man was that jump off point for the MCU until you mentioned you wanted to do it, and I was like, I can't believe I forgot that. And it's still so enjoyable. It's still so great. Robert Downey Jr. really brought the character to life and really stayed so true to that first performance over the years in the MCU. I'm really glad that that you guys wanted to do it so I could rewatch it again, because my final thoughts are love it.
Yeah.
I just love that movie.
Yeah, at some point, I would love for us to get through all of the MCU movies.
Yeah.
I'll have 2 kids by the time we're done with that, James. I don't even want them.
So, for the next episode, what MCU movies would you guys like to do next?
I'd love to do another solo hero. Maybe Captain America: The First Avenger.
I was thinking that too. Like, First Avenger would be really nice to do next.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be
especially if
a lot of fun.
we, you know, Iron Man and Cap are such huge important pieces of it, and then they'll go into Endgame. We know it's going to be one or the other, right? So let's do Iron Man today, and then First Avenger, and then see how those first movies lead into Endgame.
Yeah, that sounds like an amazing idea. Yeah, we'll do Captain America: First Avenger next.
I
Yeah,
can't wait to
sure.
watch it 3 to 4 times.
Yeah, I love that movie so much. But let's end it off there. We could ramble on and on about comic book movies and about Iron Man, but thank you guys so much for listening. This is such an important film, not just for the MCU, but for comic book movies in general. You know, it really changed what the genre could become, along with Nolan's films and what he did for DC. But for Marvel, this film is like, it's up there. It's a part of the pinnacle, the Mount Rushmore of comic book movies for me. And I'm really glad that you guys decided to join us. Make sure you follow me all over social media at C4 Spoilers. And if you guys want to support the podcast, go over and head over to patreon.com/C4 Spoilers. Check out the tiers. You know, support us there. There's some exclusive content. You know, I make thumbnails for each and every podcast, and you guys will have exclusive ones on there. And if you just want to stay up with all the latest movie news, you know, just head over to carefulforspoilers.com, and where we talk about movies, TV show, games, and all that stuff. And until we talk about Captain America: The First Avenger, I'll see you guys next time.